So I've got the center link off here, and it is bad. So I'm going to replace the ball joints on either end with these spherical bearing housings and spherical bearings. Grassroots uses 2 spherical bearings on either side with a housing that houses both of them, but I couldn't buy that, and I don't have a lathe to make one. So I decided I'd buy 2 single housings and weld them together, and then install the C-clips to hold them in. And this will go in place of these ball joints on either side. So I will drill out the pitman arm and the idler arm to 5/8 and then through bolt it to those. And in theory, that will be a whole lot more durable than the current flawed Nissan Xterra steering. So I guess we'll see how that goes. I've got the ball joints cut off. That's what I'll call them. I don't even know if that's what they're called, but I just cut in from 2 sides, and then it was weak enough that I could beat it off with a hammer. There is fancy tools that you could use for this, but I don't have those. So I've got to do with what I've got. But then these housings sit in like that. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to round off. I'm going to take a flat disc and I'm going to kind of round it off, trying to just to get it sit in there a little bit better. And then we'll lay it on a level ground, and then we'll tack it, and then we'll put it on there and make sure it's going to work. If I get the angles wrong, then it'll try to bind it, and I don't want any flexing, it needs to be all equal in the distribution of I don't know if it's leverage, torque, or force. Distribution of force. Yeah, that's what it'll be. So I'll round it off, and then we'll lay it all down on a level surface and tack weld it. That's my plan. So I've just kind of rounded it off a little bit. As you can see, it sits in there pretty nicely. I'll be able to fill in everything with a weld, and so the preferred way would be to, you can get like a plasma cutter or a torch or something. This is very unprofessional, but so I'm only going to tack it so that I can take it back apart if I need to, and then I'll stick it on, and with the wheels off and everything, there's not going to be too much stress on the weld, so I'll be able to see if anything's binding, and then if I need to change anything, I can do it after that. But if it's all good, then we'll weld it up. Okay, it's all tacked on. These are on there. I got the idler arm built out today, and the fitment arm to 5/8 to fit the bolts. So that's nice. They used to be tapered and you have to drill them out. Busted that weld right there, but that is okay because it was binding up, and in theory we can now weld it back and it in the non-binded position, because when we bolted it down it must have twisted a little bit. The ground must not have been level, terribly level, and now we can weld it on the vehicle, thus it being in the position, correct position. Yes. I was testing it with the power steering on, and I should have known better, but I busted that weld. So now I gotta straighten it back up and weld it better, and then if I think it's gonna work, then I need to go ahead and weld it completely up. That would be terrible if that happened on the road, so we need to get it welded all the way. Yep. Got it all welded up. We'll clean them up now, and then we'll probably sand it down and paint it. Y'all may have seen in the videos that the steering wasn't working how it was supposed to. The inner ball of this is supposed to be what's turning inside the outside of that. But if you watch those videos over again, the bolt was turning in the idler and pitman arm rather than inside the center link, and that is not good because that will wear out the idler and pitman arm. So I realized there was a flaw in my design here, and that is that, I'll see if you can see, there is a gap because of the you can see there's that ledge that separates the bearings. Well, the two spherical parts of these bearings are not connecting, and all the pressure is being forced on the race of the bearing. So to transfer the force of the bolt pressing the center link against the idler arm, I've got these shims. I went to the hardware store and I got, let me see what this one is basically 0.05 inches, which is in millimeters. It says 1.21 millimeters, and then the other one is basically 2. I got two different sizes. So the gap, and so this is the bottom side of the center link right here. And I don't think I'm gonna install this C-clip because now the spacing isn't quite right, but I doesn't need to, because this will be pressed up against the bottom of the pitman arm, and then it'll be those shims, and then it'll be up against the next spherical bearing, which will be bolted down. So it'll all be bolted down, and then the actual center link can't go up because it will have to hit, because the top bearing is up against that ledge in there. I've got it thought out, and I don't know if it makes any sense, and y'all may think I not have it thought out, but I've been thinking about this all day, and I think I have it figured out. So I've got some other things that if this doesn't work, if this doesn't keep it from turning the bolt inside the idler and pitman arm, then I am going to I've got some other ideas of what might work. So here goes nothing. Let's see if you won't see it in there. So I'm gonna put a flashlight in my mouth, so I'm not gonna be able to talk. Drop those in there. And that's gonna go like that. Socket. And that's in there. And folks. Well, so now I can't move. Now I can't move the spherical part because it's pressing up against the other side, and therefore when you bolt it down, it's going to push the two spherical parts of the bearings against each other, and there won't be a lot of stress on the race. It'll transfer through it when you bolt it down and compress it. And it looks like I might be able to get the C-clip in there, which would be amazing. But if not, I'm not going to cry. And it doesn't look like it will. There'll be two shims like that, which brings the outside of the bearing past the bearing, the spherical part past the outside of the ledge. So shims are saving the day right now. And so I'm gonna bolt all this up like this and see if it does better. I'm crossing my fingers that it does. So we'll see what happens. What I'm saying, see, this is the other side. I've already taken the C-clip out. But see, it's still, I'm only sticking the bolt halfway through, but I don't want to be able to turn the spherical part. I want it to be sitting up against the other bearing, so that when I bolt it down, all the stress is on the, or all the force is on the inner part of the bearing, the spherical part, so that there is no friction, not as much friction on the race. I don't know if this makes any sense what I'm saying, but for those who it does, yeah, it does. The sequence is bolt, shim, C-clip, spherical bearing, 3 shims, spherical bearing, 2 shims, idler arm or pitman arm, and then lock washer, nylon nut, and then trim bolt. The reason for all that is because the bolt was turning in the pitman arm. Now the bolt is turning with the pitman arm. It was because there's too much stress on the races on the spherical bearing parts against the races. So now the spherical bearing part are all compressed and aren't putting stress on the races. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it makes sense to me. Maybe. I'm terrible at explaining things. Forgive me. Okay, so I'll show you all the difference. Let me trim those bolts, and then I will show you all Probably, I'll show y'all in the videos. At least, I think.